We are streaming now. Welcome everyone. Second episode, the late show. I think it's basically mid-season now. Um, someone else do it while I'm busy doing this? Yeah, yeah.
तू गाड़ी चला रहे
Um, Okay, so folks, it's halfway. We are almost midway of the MPL season. But before I start, I want to kind of once again welcome all the MPL captains. But this time we have NECA captains as well. And since Nikhilesh is basically doing the double duty here, he's representing the NECA A team as well as the Transformers. But then we have a pirate here among us, RA captain. Uh, Anoop here joins us as the captain of the Pirates. We'll come to that captaincy later on, but for now, welcome everyone to the second episode of the Late Show. I wanted to start by a couple of things. One is, given that we are mid-season, I wanted to bring up the standings for all the folks who are kind of following the stream. As you can see, we have Avengers at top. I think that's a little surprise for some of us, but not to some of the other folks. That's basically where it stands. Suicide Squad being second, Transformers being third, X-Men being fourth, and Justice League at number five, or as others would say, last. In terms of dream team standings, I wanted to kind of point out that folks who are playing dream team, good luck with your this thing. So far, we have Kandarp at the top, and Raghu is very close second. So good luck to you guys to kind of get to the top. And as you can see, Raghu, Kishan, and Chaitanya have been trending upwards, but Kandarp is not that easily leaving that spot. So some good competition going on here on this front as well. Along with it, I wanted to also bring up the Pick'em standings. And the interesting note here is Karthik Thakkar has been playing and he's leading all of this while he is no longer in Massachusetts. But kudos to him for picking all the right teams. And here we have some known names in terms of Sabay, Raj, Mayank, Pranav, and then some new entries in Kinjal. I think Darpan is a newer entry here as well. So good luck to you folks as well. This is basically where it stands in terms of Pick'em. And one of probably the most followed race here that everyone is keeping an eye out on is the MVP standings. Right now, no surprise here. Yashwant is at the top of this list, and followed by Dhruv, Parag, Nikhilesh, and Darpan. So good luck, all of you folks. All the folks who are in 300s. It's anyone's game. And Avengers have played more games, so you still have an opportunity to catch up. Although Yashwant might have different plans. But I just wanted to pause here and ask folks about what their thoughts have been on the season so far. Why don't we go start with Aditya? What's your take on the season so far? What have you noted as something that stood out?
I'm actually glad that we now have 11 going forward. That has been our problem in first four games. The only two games that we got out on winning or tying side was when we had 11 aside. Apart from that, all the games that we lost, we were like 8 or 9. So that's something we'll be having going forward, that full squad, and then that might come up as an advantage against guys who are losing players for injury. Some of them have gone to India and all that stuff. So availability is not an issue anymore, but we would have to treat each and every game as a knockout game for us, because we at least need to win 4 out of it, the 5 that are remaining.
So I think Aditya, what you mentioned is all statistically like what all things you need to do to kind of do. But what I'm saying in terms of thoughts so far, um, what do you see as things that stood out? Right? What kind of is this something where you expected your team to be?
the availability, I expected us to win at least one out of first four, and then we think about the later part after that, and then we ended up in a tie with Justice League. We wanted to win that obviously, but we are still in a good spot. We can still make it if we play better.
Okay.
Batting wise, I think we've been doing good. Hardik played. Uh, LSK did a brilliant job last game. So even though Mukul's not firing, everyone else is almost chipping in. So
Well,
that's a good thing.
Thanks
And we
for
also
that.
have 5 good bowlers. So
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned all
we
of
are in
these things,
good
but you
spot.
still expected only one game to be won from the first four. But hey, I mean, looks like you are on par.
Because we
So
didn't have the availability, right?
I see, I see. Okay, cool. What about you, Nikhilesh?
I think we're doing good. We would have like one more win, but like been fairly good. I'm pretty happy where we are. Could do that would be nice if we had won one more. Yeah,
So that's with just your team. What about thoughts on other teams?
I think this time IPL has been like more competitive. Like there was no game where it was like an obvious or easy win. So like whoever plays like really well takes a little edge on that day. I think like all
Even
the teams, even the Justice League didn't win any game so far.
yeah,
I don't think they're easy teams. I mean, they had like 2 or 3 tough blocks. So
I was going to ask
I
you the
think
same thing, saying that you mentioned that all games have been done. I was going to ask you, is it also including the Justice League games?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean we didn't play it rained also.
I see, I see. Darpan, what about you? What are your thoughts so far on the season?
Yeah, I'm very happy with where we are right now. I think the boys have shown positive attitude on the field, and everyone has chipped in. Everyone also got a chance to perform. So, yeah, I'm happy with where we are right now, and looking forward for the rest of the season. Yep.
Did you, by any chance, watch Inzamam and Huck's interview before this call? Inshallah, boys played well. Anyways,
No, no.
I understand. So looks like everyone so far has been happy. So let me then switch gear and go to Justice League. Um, what about you, Shekhar?
So, I mean, to recap the season, it's a very interesting season for us. We definitely need like satisfaction. When we picked the team, we were very confident that we can do much better than where we are today. But yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't live up to our expectations. But yeah, that happens. That's doesn't go to the plan all the time. But yeah, we played some good cricket in parts, just not able to complete the game as a whole. But took the very close games. We had a very good chance of winning and we're not able to just close that and get the win. So yeah, but yeah, that's I think that kind of season for us. But we still have 4 games to go, so if we can turn the tables around and get 2 wins, and that will be an interesting season for us.
Yeah, I was gonna just remind you that I think you still are mathematically still in. So good luck with the rest of the tournament. I think you guys have the team, so good luck with that. I wanted to switch to Avengers. Top of the table, winning championship last year. So far, topping the table again. Tell us more, Mahesh. What are your thoughts on the tournament so far?
Yeah, it's been a great start. So I think like we tried to get the like retain the core players from last year, and we did in some way. And you can see like we play well as a team. I think we're playing the same brand of cricket we played last year. So it's
Well, you go. It's interesting you mentioned the brand of. Some say that with this year's, I think you have been a little heartless in how you are approaching the game, not allowing runners. What is your take on this? Um,
More than better.
yeah, yeah. So basically, is the topping the table that important that you basically are not providing players like Uday opportunities to kind of have their contribution to the game? Like, what's your take on that?
good question.
I know it's a good question. That's why it's on the show.
If I'm be asked.
I think like we decided to like stick to like not because like
Here, I'm guessing I'm reading between the lines. So we here is Yashwant.
So Ankit was injured like the first few games and he couldn't run, but we still decided to not ask for a run of Ankit. So
Kid was running in the second game against us.
but he usually runs like I don't know the same pace as Usain Bolt.
So I see. I kind of okay. So from what I read, I think looks like you are throwing another injured player under the bus here. But I guess that's basically what it takes to top the table.
Consistent, like whatever we decided at the start of the season, like we want to make sure that we stick to it.
But we think providing this kind of stuff will make people more interesting and more fun.
S1, can you mute your?
I have something to say if you guys allow me.
But we are talking to the
First,
captain.
let
Yashwant,
Mahesh
since when have you been looking for permission to say anything or do anything? Just go ahead.
So, since he didn't mute himself, I want to ask a question that directly impacts me. Mahesh decided to bowl himself for 3 overs, and he came, threw down a 3-run batting order, and made a lot of runs with great leadership with the bat and the ball. But in the process, he robbed me of the opportunity of having Yashwant score the same amount of runs, and that's costing me a spot in the Dream Team standings. So what is this all about? About leading from the front? Why are you doing this so well?
So we want to save our best player for the playoffs.
No, they're talking about Yashwant here, Mahesh, not me.
Yeah.
So we've tried to only use our best player when needed. When others can get us to victory, like we've tried to do it.
Okay.
One other question for Mahesh.
Such a strong team.
Yeah.
One other question for Mahesh. There's a really good batsman in your team called Jatin Irande. He actually is our premier spin bowler. Why has he only bowled 6 overs so far?
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a good for everyone.
So I think the biggest challenge, as a captain, is to try to find the right balance between, giving everybody opportunities, but also trying to win. So we've tried to try different stuff, and yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, yes, we've kind of underused Chaitanya, in bowling and in some ways batting. But
You don't trust his bowling? Is that what you're saying?
no, it's not like we don't trust him. We've just tried to so we have 8 good bowlers on our team.
Right?
So we've tried to rotate everybody and make sure everybody.
But I've seen you and Deshnant are bowling 3-3 every game, right? If you're rotating.
So
That's it, right? The best players.
Can we expect Chaitanya bowling in future games then? I mean, till now he didn't bowl, so if you're rotating, you should get chance somewhere else.
yeah, he has bowled 6 overs.
I
Shekhar,
don't think Shekhar should be asking.
Shekhar, I think all our games against Justice League are done, so no point asking for that.
Remember anything? Your team remembers him more than anyone else.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, so we are asking
Your
about
team.
it. Yeah, no. So he's doing well, that's why we want him to do well against other teams.
I think the question is still, Mahesh, you don't trust Chaitanya as a bowler?
We do trust him. Like I said, we have so many options that we've tried to rotate everybody. So far we've not. I would say I've not done a good job of utilizing the skill set that we have. But
So talking about trust in the team and all of the stuff, I think Nikhilesh, a question for you, which I hope you know that this is coming. That how much trust is in the team that you guys can win without Rohit Maryada?
Pretty good.
Yes, but I mean, based on what?
So, I mean, even the last game, when we gave away 142,
Mhm.
we were just playing with 9 people.
Yeah.
It's not just Rohit, any person, even a Virag. We were missing Virag, Dipesh, and Debash. Any one of them we would have made because we still had 8 or 9 balls towards the end, and we were missing them. So it's not just about that. Maybe the margin is little closer, but if we have Rohit, I'm sure it helps.
So
It
rumors
just
are
eliminates
that
the
the Avengers squad has been pestering you with this kind of talk that it's all because of Rohit Maryada. Are you trying to kind of then do proving your point by not having Rohit play against and still win against Avengers?
I mean, why? Why do you?
Well, I thought it's basically you trusted your team to win without him anyways. So
it doesn't
then
mean I'm stupid not to play, right?
I see. Okay. 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 So yeah, I mean you trust, but not that much trust.
But hey, Ankit, either way, like we won all the matches with Rohit in, and he's available for our next game against you. So
Okay.
yes, yeah, I do.
Yeah. So that's basically the part where I was saying that you trust the team, but not that much that you would rest him.
Why would I rest? I'm not a fool. But
Now he moved this game so that Surya is available. So I'm not sure he was confident just because
Correct.
Rohit was
yeah,
available.
So trust is
It
like
was also
a
Rohit and Surya. Let's be honest.
yeah.
yeah. And
Our
another
doubt-
interesting thing that I think Mahesh was
Let's
talking
stop
about.
flexing when there is no flex really.
Yeah, I mean there is basically it's a old meme that I wanted to recycle, but then I've used it already and everyone knows about it. So no point bringing it up. I think everyone knows by now.
But either way, it's good that just having Rohit in the team intimidates you. So that's good.
Correct. It's absolutely the case. Um,
Yeah.
the fact is it's so much intimidation that when he's not there, everyone kind of ends up winning against you guys. So
But hey, it's
that's-
available all the games. No one. So
so clearly looks like you guys will be winning all the games.
maybe
Great
we'll
stuff.
try. I mean, that's the intention always, right? We want to win all the games anyway.
So I think one thing I wanted to kind of do is just pivot a little bit. Mahesh kind of talked about how it difficult.
Ankit, I think you diverted the question towards me, but Mahesh still didn't answer that. He doesn't trust, or does it trust? Do we see more of Chaitanya or not?
We have to wait and see for that.
Okay.
So it's a
So we
no?
still don't trust.
I want to see Ankit bowling.
Yeah.
Ankit among us.
I want to see Ankit bowling as well.
Goals before
Exactly.
the game. Goals before the game.
I want to see him bowling in an IPL.
Yeah.
Left arm over.
All that guile and
Yeah. Yuvraj, Ankit, Desai Singh.
Same thing. I wanted to kind of pick more on what Mahesh was talking about, the fact that there are still players like Chaitanya who are not utilized, and I wanted to pivot little and go to Anup. Anup, do you think KP kind of falls in the same category?
Of underutilized.
Yeah.
No, I have utilized him well. He has been batting up the top when he's playing.
And that is the amount of thing that utilization you think he deserves.
I mean, what more batting opportunity can one get? Than
I mean, that is the question. I think, do you think he's underutilized or is proper
he's not
utilized?
underutilized. He's not underutilized in anything.
Okay.
In the games that he has played, he opened the innings.
Another thing that I had a question for you, Anup, is so you have been kind of leading Pirates for the first time and a captain as the first time. Tell us more about your experience. How has it been so far? What are your takes, things that stood out from the NECA season so far?
Yeah, it's great actually. I did not think that I will have so much fun leading the team. The team has been playing really well. We have had a couple of really tough losses on the way, but the team has still, like the first half when the team is losing, but the second half, the kind of passion they are putting on the field, like it's really praiseworthy. So even though we lost 2 games, I think it didn't feel like we lost 2 games because the team really tried in bringing it back. So I love how the team is responding, and that makes the job even more enjoyable.
Do you think are you at a stage where you will be okay handing off your captaincy back to me, or should I just give up the hope?
I mean, if you feel like leading the rest of the season, I will just give it up to you. I will not.
So that's interesting because I thought that the whole point was to kind of lead from the front, finish the things, finish the season strong. It's interesting you are giving that up that easily. But anyways, moving on to
That is my-
Nikhilesh. Nicholas, what's your take on the season so far on the NECA?
yeah, we like started slow, but like now caught up with like we won 3-3. It's really easy when you have like such quality players like, who are also like so competitive and they give their 100% like each time you enter the field. So it's, like you don't have to do much. Like just do the basics right. That's what I do.
So how do you feel the outlook? You feel confident that you have a good team to carry you forward in the tournament?
I think we'll make playoffs for sure. Yeah.
That's good. That's
Nikhilesh,
good.
another team that meets the same criteria, right? Starts slow and then picks up momentum and gets big wins. Is this in this tournament called IPL, the team out of Mumbai? Are you planning on renaming the team to match that team's name?
No,
Instead of Mumbai Indians calling it
It doesn't like Mumbai Indians. So
Mammals Indians.
I don't like Mumbai Indians that much anymore.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I love them.
Please don't name it Mathos Indians and push away every guy from another country out.
Who? There is nobody else.
Eh,
in the
eh,
country.
yeah.
There might be. I mean, Mohammad Nabil was playing for us. I don't know if
Yashwant,
he comes.
Yashwant, let me remind you, this is a cherry-picked team that was created, handcrafted to match the league and the division. So please do not bring all those openness and fairness and all that stuff, because that was the least thing that the A team did. Please keep driving, mute yourself, and let's continue. Okay.
Cherry pick.
I want to go back to Shekhar on this stage and ask him a question that I think everyone wants to hear. What went wrong? Do you blame Udit for this because he apparently performs wonderfully in NECA and MSCL, but somehow when it comes to MPL, he's just nowhere to be seen in the top MVP list?
Uh, not really. I mean, so blaming an individual for a team coach is never right.
I mean, it worked for us. I mean, we always used to blame individuals.
Yeah, I mean, if a team does that, as a team, you have to perform. It is not many, right? So coming to Udit, he is bowling really well. His bowling stats are testament to that.
Well, Mahesh apparently hit 2 4s. I mean, so how well is he bowling?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can have a bad day.
So, in out of 4 games, if you have one bad day, how is it a good consistent bowling performance?
We played 6 games, right? We played 5 games. One is washed out. So he bowled well in 4 games, just 1 over. Even in the same game, the first over he bowled and made it in 2 wickets. So that shows his quality. One bad over doesn't change anything. And yeah, Nicholas can speak more on the performances given in League and MSC.
Oh, I know. The stats speak for themselves. So.
Yeah. So it's just
Yes.
one bad
But
over.
but I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that Udit was never a bowler. Udit is an all-rounder who is meant to be in the top 5 or at least top 2 of the MVP race, and he's not in top 5.
Yeah, we hope that changes pretty soon. We want him to be batting well as well. We need good batting performances from the whole team as well. For now, only Kishan is the one who stand out in batting. So
Makes sense.
yeah,
उम्मीद पे तो दुनिया कायम है. Like, yes. Okay, so I want to go back to Aditya now. I had a question for him. So Aditya, one of the things that is, my sources tell me that is a cause of concern or a lot of discussion is how Hardik came into being added to your team without actually going through the auction, the the sequence that we had. Can you tell more as to how all of a sudden this pool of players emerged from MCC or MCL and then are added to your team directly?
Yeah, so we had a player called Murli Aikatla in auction, and his description was that he likes to open in leather ball cricket. So we definitely thought that if someone can open in hard ball cricket, he would be good at tennis ball cricket as well. So we spent $2 on him, and then we could not make our squad without him. We were just 11, and there has to be 12 at least.
$2?
When that happened, yeah, $2.
You're talking about someone
Because we
who's
just
opening in
had
leather ball and you're
$4.
like, oh, great player, let me put $2?
No
Yeah,
one
out
else
of
knows.
4, yes, I'm good. Yeah, because at that point $2 were a lot because I had to fill four players to be 13. I still went for $2. So at that point, I guess it was way more than I would have imagined. But then when he was unreachable, then we as in me and Rakib thought that if we could get the next player, that would be good. And nobody was registering at that point. I even consulted with Raghuveer, and then I roped in Hardik for that because he lives in New Hampshire. It is difficult for him to come.
Which is why I'm surprised that you went with him rather than anyone else which is local here.
But nobody was registering. That's the thing. Everyone from my MCL team kind of lives in like Waltham or New Hampshire or Lowell. So everyone's far. But we needed a bowler because I'm not a reliable bowler. So I went for him. And luckily he's batting well as well. So that's a plus for me.
I don't think it's luck. He's a really good batsman.
So now you know who the sources
Yeah,
are, Aditya.
Hey, that's not.
No. No, he's a really good bowler.
Yeah.
Batting wise, like I said, he can smack, but he gets tired easily. Like 1-2 overs, that's it. But if he's standing and delivering it like he did last game, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that as well.
I want to go to Darpan. Darpan, you have been participating into the B asterisk 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 I group that sits in the Apple Hill 1 during lunchtime. And you would have heard the discussion that are happening there, how teams are swapping their schedules so that they can get more out of their key players who were initially sold for very cheap because of their availability, and trying to kind of game the system in a way. And so, case in points are the Avengers again. Like I said, they are kind of brutal to stay on top of the table, trying to squeeze out extra game from Sandeep. You see Nikhil trying to squeeze out extra game from Surya.
But it's not cheap, just letting you know, $24 versus 4 is a lot of it.
I'm just let me finish my question here. So, do you feel like you were left out and you basically got the short end of the stick where you were not able to get as much out of Lalit?
Uh, Not really. As I mentioned, like when I picked Lalit in the auction, I knew that he's gonna be there only for the half of the season.
Well, that's what everyone knew, but everyone still gamed the system by getting one more game out of him.
Sure, but
So you agree? So you agree that you got the short end?
No. So I was very confident of my team.
So you are
the
not
squad that I have.
unhappy about it. You are okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with them swapping their games. That's fine. I don't have anything
Okay.
against that.
Okay. That's very nice of you.
As I mentioned, I knew my team. I was happy with the team that I had from the auction, and I had this in mind. Like if Alalit is playing for like half of the season, we're gonna make the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we tried to do,
And you did. I mean, you basically are right now in a very good spot. So good luck with that.
thank you.
One question I have for you is: would you have allowed runner for Justice League in the game if you were instead of Avengers?
I mentioned this in the previous game also. I think I would have allowed.
Nicholas, would you have allowed a runner? Shekhar, if you were Avengers, would you have allowed?
Yeah.
Clearly, Avengers are the only ones that are kind of being tough here. Well, I guess that's what it takes, guys, to be at the top of the table. So maybe something you guys need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to basically switch to a discussion that has come up every now and then. And this has come from someone who is at a very high post, not only in MPL but also at NECA. And so I'll let the legend himself talk about that question. Raghu, you want to take and post your question here?
Sure. So over the weekend, right, the games that I've played in Nika this year, and I think it's really a recurring theme year over year. During the games, 10 games, be it at Ashton Field or at YMCA when we hosted, boundaries are pretty far away, especially for tennis balls. The moment we travel to other fields and when we are visiting then teams, especially in Nika, we see that boundaries at many fields are smaller. And I think one of the pattern I've seen is that overall many of the batters they struggle to adapt and play the big shots because they don't know even if the shorter boundaries there are good enough for us to clear them. There was a discussion earlier in the season, I think Nikhil started it, about trying to reduce the number of outfielders outside of the circle outside of the power play, from reducing it from 6 to 5 to allow batsmen to play freely. Should it instead be that we bring our boundaries closer in NPL to be more in line with actually Mecca standard boundaries, which is about 110 feet behind the bowler or being straight from the bowler, rather than the 120, 126 feet that is right now in FPL. So does the longer boundaries in FPL actually impact us as a club when we start playing Mecca?
Clearly, I'm not enough. The scored enough sixes to prove that that's not
There
true.
was enough wind that day, so that's a one.
Wind.
The wind helped. The wind helped.
And you won't
What are
see
the boundaries like at 10 yards the other day? 10 yards up?
same, pretty much the same. Like again, one more thing. I don't think we have a measuring tape. Measured through the app, so measured to the like standard boundaries, maybe 2-3 feet accuracy, but nothing shorter. So
because the arguments end up, then the discussions end up happening is that means that definitely we have enough power hitters in our club. If you are one of them, Rohit in particular also whenever he plays, be it Nika and KL, etc. And there are a few others, but it's not an everybody's game for us in MCC where it's most of us end up just playing the singles and rotating strike and going from there. So just the fact that in MPL we play it one way impact us when we show up and try to play Mecca and where other teams score runs by the bucket and going for them going at 6 and over is just an everyday thing. For us, going 6 and over in Mecca is actually a big achievement.
So maybe to some extent, because like if you hit and you get out most likely, then it's a negative feedback, like where you don't ever try to like take on the field assessment. So I mean, it's
So
does
I
it
mean,
help maybe, but
Yeah,
to what extent?
especially
I don't really know.
especially the straighter boundaries. Those are,
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
even in our NECA games, we keep it like in a different pin code.
yeah.
I mean,
That's hard to clear.
playing every game in Nika, right? I mean, I can speak for everything, but there are bound. I don't think they're bound plus one. They're similar or if not big enough.
Not big.
I mean, in Rantham and the other grounds right we played. So they're same. I mean, similar sizes. I would say.
Almost, yeah.
So we didn't play that small, but people are clearing it. It's just that we as a team should trust ourselves and
Something about YMC as well, that the ball doesn't travel.
Ball doesn't travel as
in the air either because of the layout of the field. It's like covered by trees on all four directions, so there is not much crosswind for the ball to travel in the air either.
Yeah. I think that's more pronounced in YMCA than in Ashton, for sure. I think the same boundary sizes we can still make more runs in Ashton, but not a doubt. Even like more boundaries.
okay.
Maybe for like YMCA we can have like 5 PK or something like 5 assets.
if you have a team like Transverse and Suicide Squad, you can definitely invest exercise.
Correct. Agreed. I wanted to do a lightning round. I want very quick answers. Only probably do one. So look at this bugger. Yes, one. Okay. Anyways, so lightning round. I'll start again this time around with Darpan. Who do you think is going to be the top team ending at in MPL by the end of the season? Quick.
I mean the top of the table,
Yep.
right? For the round robin matches.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Avengers.
Okay. Aditya.
Where they're playing.
Who do you think?
Transformers. I still feel it's
Okay.
Transformers.
Shekhar.
That's one.
Nikhilesh.
Transform.
Mahesh.
Avengers.
Okay. Another question for you guys. Again, I'll go in the same order. Which are the 3 teams that will end up qualifying in the playoff for MPL? Darpan.
Avengers, Transformers, and Suicide Squad.
Shekhar.
Avengers, Transformers, and Justice League.
Nikhilesh.
I think Avengers, Transformers, and Suicide Squad.
Aditya.
Transformers, Avengers, X-Men.
Mahesh.
Just Transformers.
And what?
Wait,
Suicide Squad.
okay. Ankit, why are we asking this question? We all know that if Avengers are would be our Avengers. The question should be: are Avengers going to be the first team to do a 2-peat? No team in the history of MPL has won it back-to-back seasons. Are Avengers going to be the team? And if so, who are they going to trash in the final to lift the cup? It's what the question should be, right, guys?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question.
Okay, so then that's the question. Who are going to be the finalists where Avengers win? Darpan.
Where Avengers win.
Where?
Hard.
No,
There are 4 Avengers in this group right now, out of 9.
Okay, no, I think that question will come later on. I think for now, I wanted to kind of switch to a different question. So lightning round is done. I think that's thanks for your answers, guys. I wanted to go back to Mahesh now that Yashwant is out of the stream. Mahesh, I think how are you planning to deal with the constant on the field impromptu decision changes that Yashwant brings during Avengers game? And I'm kind of putting it saying that you have been winning in spite of all this uh, crazy last minute changes that Yashwant brings on the table. So kudos to you, firstly. But then, how are you planning to deal with that constant nagging, if you will, from Yashwant?
I think it's all about communication. So after the Justice League game, I think I had a chat with Yashwant.
And so basically, you put him in place at that moment.
Yeah, and he said, he said he'll not, make like
Cut the change.
yeah, he'll not like force any decisions on me.
Yeah, so he'll basically shut the F up. Okay, I
At
see.
that point, he was forcing the decision. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes yes. I mean, sometimes he would just like be very sure about what to do next. So
Sometimes
it's tough to know.
translation. Sometimes he's very sure about the wrong decisions or the wrong things.
Yeah, so it's tough to not like go by his
Influence. Get influence.
Okay, and now we come to the famous section of our show where you get to ask any one person one question. Um, so I'll start this time around with Nikhilesh. You get to ask one person one question on this stream. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Mike, whom you don't want to face in the finals if you reach finals? Which team?
That's an easy answer, of course. Transformers.
Which team you'd like to face?
Which team you'd like to face? I think anybody other than Transformers.
I have to pick one. That's it. Whom are you sure of defeating? That's
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on the day. Like, we cannot be sure of beating anybody.
So far, you played everyone. Right?
Who would you say if you knew that Shekhar would not feel bad?
No, I think if the Justice League have like all the players available, I think they're tough to beat squad as well. So,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, Shekhar, your one person, one question.
I want to ask that one. So when we picked the team, like people were saying that the Suicide Squad is not that strong comparatively to the other teams. Were you surprised by the performance of the team and the position you are in today?
I'm not surprised because when I picked the team, I had my people. Like so, I did some homework before auction. So I think I got my all my boys and all the people. So I think I'm happy. I'm not surprised at all.
I'm now 100% sure you have seen the Inzamam ul Haq interview. I'm 100% sure that you have seen that one.
So I think the thing is that I keep on addressing in my group also like hi boys and something. So it's just like
Okay,
it's
so
an extension of that. So
okay,
yeah.
okay. That one, your turn. One question, one person.
Uh, yeah, I'd like to ask Nikhilesh, like, so do you think in the last game, like, if you had gone a little bit up, it would have made a difference?
Last game, no. Maybe if I've taken a single and play the long game instead of like I already got 20 runs in an over. Right?
I mean, you were all clearly on in form. That's not a question. My question is that if you had gone a bit up in order, that would it have made a difference?
Not really. I think the timing was good, but it's just the moment when I got out of now.
Seems like someone wants to back up in now and then. That one.
No, I mean, if I want to bat up in order, I can go. I mean, I don't need to ask anyone.
Yeah.
No, I think we are missing like many of our main bats.
Oh, I was not. I was. This is actually news to me that you would be that casual about abusing power, but sure. Aditya, your one question, one person.
Yeah, sure. It's for Shekhar. That his team has so many injuries. Harshal's gone with finger injury. Other guys limping. Udit had his knees problem. So, are you still willing to sacrifice all these players just for an MPL game, or are you gonna play without them What are your thoughts on that?
Interesting question. So, firstly, like we're not able to make 11. If you see few of the last few games in the next game, we are not able to make 11. So we need everyone who is available or who can just come and stand. Just like Uday, right? He was not able to run, which is fine, but he was
But
providing.
then Avengers made him run. He
Limb.
was
Swagger.
literally limping.
That's on them, right? I can't help with that. I asked them.
It's on them. You are making him play, and it's on them.
Yeah,
How is it fair?
Lastly, it 8 people on the field, right? So again, it's a game you want to win it. You just don't want to give it away, no matter what, right? And he was coming for the games and he was just trying to do what he can. We're not trying to force or make him do something he's not comfortable with, right? He can stand. He can stand and slog. He's good enough to clear boundaries. We can connect the ball. That's what we want from him. Even if he I mean, so players like me, they need to run takes in these stores, but
The short question is it really worth it?
yeah, definitely from a justice point of view, it is.
Okay. Mahesh, one person,
So,
one
yeah,
question.
that means you're willing to.
Yeah, question for Niklesh. So, who do you not want to meet in the playoffs?
I still think it's Avengers. Like like they underrate themselves. They deflate themselves always. But like they're really strong.
Okay. Enough with
They,
this
they know
bromance, guys.
how to play the MPL like
Okay.
the correct way. Like,
I'm gonna cut this off. Enough of this bromance between Avengers and Transformers. You guys can take it offline. Okay, now I'm gonna go to Anup. Anup, one person, one question.
So that one, you had said in the past, in front of everyone, that the perfect position for you to bat is one down, max two down. So now you're captaining a side, but I don't see you batting anywhere in the top four. Why is that?
I mean, have the players who can actually play, like who can play in the first down or second down already. And as a captain, I think the hardest part is like is giving chances, like protecting the players. I think I'm doing good there. I mean, everyone in the team has got a chance right now. But wait for it. Like there are 4 more games remaining, so you might see me coming up the order.
But do you think those are better than you? Like one down people that you are sending right now?
Parag, yes, definitely.
So there can be situation where there are players who are better who might get chances at one down is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
So that's when I had a question to follow up on this. So for other teams like MSCL and Mikas, you think that there are no better players than you so that you can play at number 3?
Oh, I see the trap here. I see the trap here.
No, definitely. I mean, I didn't say
try
that.
So obviously, I mean, it's you want to play at number 3.
Right into the trap.
And MSCL.
Your own teammate set this trap for you, dude. Unbelievable.
No,
Nikhilesh,
I want to go up the order definitely, but there are I want to give chances in the NPL. Yeah, so
Nikhilesh, you as a NECA captain get another chance. One person, one question.
I don't know. Like anyone wants to ask me. Like I don't. Check it. Like anything that we can improve on.
I mean, I have to ask the question. Like, it's not an improvement kind of question.
Raghu, you get to ask any one person one question.
I don't have a one person, but I have a one very interesting thing that the standings kind of show. Last year, so Avengers had never made the playoff in all these years, and last year, I think finally you last year you captained the team, and you have captained Avengers a number of times before, and you put together super teams also a number of times before. Like this is the year when you had Anand Raja, Chirag, Bake, and a bunch of others. Very good team that did not make the playoff again. Last year was different. The Avengers finally broke that spell and not just made the playoff but won it in great dramatic style. The two teams that battled to make the final in the end, apart from X-Men, was X-Men vs Justice League. This year, X-Men and Justice League are sitting way out of the playoff contention at the moment. I'm sorry. And the two teams that last year were comfortable out of the playoffs, like Suicide Squad and Transformers, are now in the thick of it. Unfortunately, so to say, just because it's very interestingly set up, only the top team will make the final directly, and the team number 2 and 3 will play each other. Two play against the top team. So definitely looks like at the moment Transformers and Super Spot are going to be the two teams that are battling it out. But maybe it's still early days. Like Ankit said, Avengers have played one extra game. If Suicide Squad they would have win the next game, they're tied on points and just behind a net run rate. And at that time, it's anybody's game. Transformers are not too far back. So clearly, with the last few games to go, definitely hoping that we have some surprises with X-Men and Justice League winning more. But it looks like there's going to be a very, very competitive final. And apart from saying wanting one team there or the other team there, but definitely keep it up and let's see who makes it to the final in the end as the number one seed and who are the other two teams that fight it out in the final to make the big final.
Quick question I had. So, is there any time when we are having MCC1 or MCC2 Nikage?
So here's an interesting thing. I am actually in favor of doing that on Tuesday's practice game, like practice day. But consistently, I get saying that there is so much cricket that we are playing that we will not be able to attend that particular session.
Yeah, I understand. At this point, you are playing MPL, MSCL, and Nikage.
Right. So I don't know. Like I don't know the point of that question because I am saying that we should. I am willing to kind of have. We have a day. We have a ground. It's just that we don't have people.
Yeah, it's sad that we are just continuously cancelling all the Tuesday practice sessions.
Correct.
And we're just wasting.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason I sent it today on the RSVP. So
Yep.
it gets more time to just like.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you post it in Facebook as well?
Sure. I mean, can we post it in? I mean,
Can you?
No.
Yes. MPL boss. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And one-
Nikhilesh, probably we should just agree on a date. Maybe not 19th, maybe 26th.
Okay, we'll take that offline. We'll take that offline, folks. I think before we end this one, I wanted to do one last question for all of us. And so I want to go around this group and ask, if not your team, which team would you rather play in? Nikhilesh.
I mean, I would have loved to play for Shekhar. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Justice League. Shekhar, what about you?
Yeah, either Transformers or Avengers. I guess maybe Transformers.
Okay, Darpan.
Avengers.
Aditya.
Avengers.
Mahesh.
Justice League.
Anup.
Suicide Squad.
I'm with you.
I am Avenger, so I don't know if that applies to me.
We still have to answer that.
So I think I have always enjoyed playing in a team where we are least expected to win, because that is what actually used to like. So Raghu's point, like in the past, I've captained Avengers so many times, but always the goal was never to kind of like, hey, I'm going to win this season kind of an approach. Until last year, of course, when like we shifted and we talked about it specifically and made the team that way. But
After the split, like we didn't think that there was any obvious weak team, right?
yeah, absolutely. No, so what I'm saying right now, it becomes tough for me because there is no such team which is like obviously like a very weak team. So since everyone is still in the thick of the getting into a playoff and all, it becomes very hard for me to pick a team that way. But one thing, Raghu, and this is in all seriousness, I am actually looking into franchising and introducing that concept among this one. And I want to basically start it out, of course, by taking over Avengers as a franchise. And I'll share more thoughts I have made about this with you. I have some ideas.
But one final thought on the point that you raised. It's really sad. Somewhere between Ono, Priyank, Abhijit Varke and Sabai are really crying. They're really sad that none of you said you want to play for the
Particularly Nikhilesh.
But particularly English. Yeah, I mean, I did think we are in contention, but yeah, sure, definitely.
And Anup as well.
Yeah, Anup has played for it.
Okay, Raj's question, do we have an audience Q&A session?
Do we have an audience?
Q&A session.
Oh yeah, please bring it in, bring it on.
I see only one question over there. Who are people's favorite captain? And this question to all captains.
Okay, captains. Nikhilesh, who are your favorite captain?
I think Ankit from last season. I really liked him. I told you this before season.
Let's keep it to this season.
No, I like this. I like this. Hold on. Let's keep it.
I mean, honestly, yeah, Ankit. I said this before the season started. I really liked last season how we balanced both. So MPL is also about giving chances. I like took that from him last season.
Shekhar,
Niklesh.
Darpan.
I'm liking how Anup is doing in the Nika right now.
Aditya.
For me, it's Nikhilesh this season, Rakib last season.
Mahesh.
Udit's MSCLT.
Great stuff. Any other question, Anup, in the chat? Oh, Anup, actually, you. What about you?
Mahesh, I will just.
Okay. Cool.
I'm going to answer even though you didn't ask me. Chirag, Transformers.
He'll be crying happy. Any other questions there?
No, I think you are.
Okay. Cool.
So I have one question. I have one question. Could be a discussion, but should we have a super over? They are pretty much following all the rules, but not having super over on a tight game. So should we have that?
So since I came up with the rule of not having a super over, I would say the reason I put that together is I personally don't think super over is cricket. If you look at any sport, be it NFL, be it soccer, be it tennis, everything has a natural extension, which is a natural extension of the game. Like soccer gets a 15 or 30-minute overtime, and then there comes a sudden death. There is a similar thing in NFL where you get essentially an extra quarter until, but during that while it is still sudden death, first team that scores a touchdown essentially wins, but the other team does get a bit of position, so they still continue where it goes back and forth. And the tennis also, when it is tied 6-6 at the end of the fifth set, you still play for a difference of 2 games. Cricket does not have that natural continuity. Natural continuity would be another 5 over, 4 over stretch for NPL, or a 2020 game, it would be a 5 over stretch. We can't have that kind of time to play that long beyond. So as a result, I think a cricket game that ends with scores level is a tie. And I think that should be the case even in a final, unless and the only place where the tie should be broken is in a knockout game like a semi-final.
Say that to me.
Guys, we are running short of time. Thank you everyone once again for joining. We will be having this again toward the when we are nearing the end of the tournament. But till then,
one last thought, if you have 2 minutes. Are we I know you did mention that the 6 fielder rule was to encourage the new bowlers, but often the case, even when most of the regular bowlers are bowling, you still keep the 6 fielders out, and it's almost impossible to make a chase out when, and it's even when, let's say, last game when Seo was batting, there were 6 fielders on the fence, so it's really hard from there on to
that is something we
even
can
when
discuss, Nikhilesh. That is something we should definitely discuss more. There is merit to it. We can make it more in line with this one. But yeah, I think there are a lot of things that make MPL a little weird in some way, the number of overs. And so I think it is one of those quirks, but we can definitely discuss the merits and demerits of that one.
Now that we are here, why don't we introduce this 30-yard circle in Nika?
We can talk about that offline.
Yes, I would be very interested to talk about that as well.
Yeah, that's something I'm really curious about. Yeah. Anyway, that's
Raghu, is it because of the ground size? Because in Nika, there are different grounds, and I don't think every ground is of the same size. So if you put a 30-yard circle, probably the distance between the 30-yard to boundaries.
So for starters, I think in tennis ball, it should not be a 30-yard circle. In MPL, I think it's at 25. So I think we should definitely look at that.
Folks, this call will end in 1 minute, just FYI.
So we'll talk about this more.
Okay. Thanks, Kirk.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks, boys. Bye.
Bye.